So this is a little help video for anybody learning Patrick's Reel from Fiddle Time Joggers. It's a tricky one to do, and what makes it even more tricky is the speed on the CD. It's too quick if you ask me. Now I'm going to play you a little bit of the CD just to show you how fast it goes, and I'm going to join in as well, and you'll see how fast my fingers have to go, but that's the last we're going to hear the CD. So here we go, have a listen to the CD.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So this is where we start. Hear how fast your fingers have got to go. So if I join in, you can have a look. That's enough of that. So it's really tricky with the CD. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you hopefully some helpful tips on how to practice Patrick's Reel, and also I'm going to play it at a slower speed so that if you've done your practice and you think you can play it the way that we've done it on the video, then at least you've got something to play along with to actually feel like you've achieved it and you've performed it, okay, even if you can't quite manage it at the speed of the CD. So the difficulty with Patrick's Reel, the first two lines are much more tricky than the second two lines, so we're going to mainly concentrate on the first two lines. And the difficulty with Patrick's Reel is the quavers at the beginning in bar 1 and bar 3 on both the first line and the second line. Quavers, proper name, or joggings, as I tend to call them in my lessons. So in the first bar, it goes on the D string, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, like that, okay? So that's the first 4 quavers or joggings and the next note. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. We're just going to leave that there. If you want your note names, E, F, G, F, E, like that, okay? Now, I'm going to show you how to play that. So we need to make sure we're doing everything correctly. So we've got our instrument nice and high on our shoulder. We are not squashing bob. We've got our thumb in the right place on the edge of our fingerboard, and we've got to make sure our first finger is on our sticker so that it sounds lovely, okay? So this is what we need to practice. We're going to go. You see my fingers going on and then back off again. If I turn around and do it a different way. So that's what you need to practice. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, and do that a few times until you start to feel like you've really got it and you're making a lovely sound. Fingers are on your stickers, your bow and your fingers are moving together to make a good sound, okay? So that was the quavers in bar 1. Now let's talk about the quavers or joggings in bar 3. Now this time it's one note lower. So this time we're going to go D, 1, 2, 1, D. So like this. Okay, all right, so that's how that little bit goes. So same thing there, practice doing D, 1, 2, 1, D, and do that a few times. Okay, now if we go back to the first bar again, so by the way, at any point, pause the video and just have a little practice. You don't have to keep moving on the speed that I'm going, okay? So going back to the beginning, after we've got good at going 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, we've got to move up to an A1 on the, I just said it, an A1, a 1 on the A string, okay? So here, you want to try and move your finger not very much at all. So you want to go, and then just pop it over. So if you weren't really looking, you might have missed it, okay? So it's harder, you don't need to take your finger off and put it back on again, just pop it over. Like that, caught the A string a little bit just there. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Right, okay, so that's what you want to practice because we need to add on that next note, okay? Now, after that, we do another A1 and we do what looks like a scale coming downwards. But if you look, there's a sneaky note missing. So it goes A1, A, 3 fingers on the D string, 3, and then 1, there's no 2. So it doesn't go 1, A, 3, 2, it goes 1, A, 3, 1, and that really catches people out, okay? So that's what you'll need to practice, so doing that scale going downwards. So if you stop the video and you have a little practice of doing that a few times, that will really help. And the same thing happens after the third bar. So in the fourth bar of the first line, you can see we've got another scale coming down. And if you look closely, you'll see there's a note missing again. This time it goes A, 3, 2, D. Okay, so there's no 1. So that should sound like this. All right. Now, if you look at the first 2 bars and the second 2 bars, so basically all of the first line, you will notice there's something pretty cool in the music, and that is that it is exactly the same pattern of notes. The shape of the notes is exactly the same. The notes go up and then back down again, and they go up to a high note and then they come down with that scale and the sneaky note missing. But the second time it's a note lower. So the first time it starts on a D1 or an E, the second time it starts on an open D. So everything is 1 note lower, and that in music is called a sequence, when something is repeated but not on the same note, okay? Right, so what we want to get to is this. So if you've practiced your quavers, so your joggings, and you've practiced your scale coming down, you're not getting caught out by that sneaky note that's missing, should start sounding something like this. So here we go. Start sounding like. Now the next line, line 2, it starts the same as line 1, but then the notes stay on the A string, and that's fine. They're not too tricky. Leave those with you. If you're playing Patrick's reel, you should be able to read those notes by now. The last 2 bars are tricky because we've got a new quaver or jogging pattern, and this time it's tricky because you've got to get your fingers over onto the D string really, really quickly. So it should go like this. Like that. So A1, A3, 2. That's what we need to practice. So you've got to get those fingers on the D string really quickly. Like that, okay? And then it's a D1, 1 to finish off. Okay, so at any point, hopefully you've paused the video and you've practiced a few little bits, and it might be another day now that you'll think, okay, I'll see if I can play it all the way through. So that would be really, really good. So I'm going to play the first 2 lines for you. I'm going to count in as well, so you can join in with me, and we're going to go that nice same slow speed. Okay, which to be honest is quick enough if you ask me. So here we go. We're ready. Finger on the D string in the right place. We're not squashing bob. Make sure our bow's on the D string, ready to go. And I'm going to count in. So this is the first 2 lines of Patrick's reel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Has got a little arrow on it, and that means it's an accent. Doesn't mean that you start talking in a funny accent. It means that you give your bow an extra little push like that, just to make a bit more sound. Right, well done if you've managed that. If you haven't quite managed it, you know what to do. I've shown you what you need to practice. You just go back over those bits of practice and then have another go. All right, now the second 2 lines are much easier because they don't have any joggings in, but what can be tricky sometimes is remembering to count your long notes for long enough. So when you get onto line 3, they are 2 beat notes because they're not coloured in, and we're going at a slower tempo now. So it's going to be like E, E, 1, 1, E, and it can be tricky to not to count those for long enough, okay? So I'm going to play through. There's a little bit of trickiness in the second to last bar because again, you've got what looks like a scale, you've got some notes missing. It goes 3, 1, A, 2, so 3 to a 1, and then A to a D2. So that's quite tricky. That will need a little bit of practice. But once you've done that, you should really be able to play the second half because, like I said, no joggings does make it easier. So here we're going to play the second half of the piece. So this is starting from line 3. I'm going to count us in again so you can have a play along if you want to. So fingers at the ready. Make sure your first finger's on the on your sticker, your first sticker, but take it off again because we need to make sure we're starting on an open E, and don't squash bob. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. at this point, you have to go back to the beginning because it says DS Al fine. It's a funny looking S. It's a nice little sign that's come through the ages with when music's written down. And it means segno, which in Italian does mean sign. So you go back to the sign, which as you can see is at the beginning, and you play those first two lines again, and you stop at the fine, because remember fine means finish. It's not fine, it's fine. Okay, so that's how it should all sound. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play it all the way through at our slower tempo, so that if you want to, you can play along with me, so you're not playing it by yourself. Okay, so here we go, right the way through from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4.